and welcome back to the United Stand on this morning show. How Ruben Amorim is pushing massively for Victor Gyökeres as he puts pressure on the board to get better signings in and for a squad overhaul. A lot of departures for Manchester United this summer, a lot of wages being moved off the books. With Arsenal going for Sesko, it looks more and more likely that Manchester United have a real chance at going for Victor Gyökeres, and how Ruben Amorim is pushing that. We'll give you that on the show. Also, more talks about a Højlund exit to Inter Milan. We've spoken about that loads, but now it's being reported as well from the MEN that Zirkzee could be on the list to go in the summer. What do you think of that? I don't know if I believe it, but we will discuss it. With Ruben Amorim wanting to add strong additions to his attack, could Joshua Zirkzee be on his way out of Manchester United this summer? We would be able to get a decent fee for him and not lose any money on him. Would that be worth it, or would you want to keep him? Also, a little bit of clarification on the reports coming out about Mbeumo demanding 250 grand a week. How much truth is there in that? We will talk about that as well. Rashford only wants Barcelona and he's willing to wait the whole transfer window to secure that move. How does that put our finances in jeopardy in terms of using that money, pure profit from FFP, to put into new targets and put into new additions for Manchester United? Can the board take that risk? We'll discuss that as well. And Jadon Sancho's penalty fee is being paid, the 5 million, but could he be off to Saudi, and could Manchester United strike a quick deal there? There's loads to discuss on the show this morning. Get your comments in, let me know your thoughts, and let's get interactive. It's been put out there that Manchester United and Ruben Amorim are massively prioritising Manchester United's attack this summer. Music to my ears, music to, I'm pretty sure, most United fans' ears. We know our attack has been nowhere near good enough for quite a long time now, and it needs to be better. And we've started that off with Cunha. We're going for Mbeumo, but could the cherry, the icing on top of the cake, be Victor Gyökeres, a brand new front three for Manchester United going into next season? I'm hoping and I'm praying. I put out a tweet just earlier, and this is exactly what I said. So I said this: Cunha and Mbeumo, Gyökeres and a new keeper, and I'll be very happy with huge strides taken in rebuilding the starting XI. We can sort out the rest of the team next year. With that, I forgot to say, also a bit of news on a potential Casemiro exit. Don't rule that out this summer with Manchester United. Their preference would be to sell Casemiro. Whether he would want to go, I'm not sure, but there's some news on that as well. Midfield, obviously I want a midfielder, but I know that all of these things can't happen in the same window. So I think if we focus on rebuilding our attack this summer and sort the goalkeeper problem that we've got, next year is when we go all out in rebuilding our midfield. We know we're not going to win the league next year. It's about rebuilding and rebuilding up that table. With the attackers that I've just named there, bringing them in, that would give us so many more points. That would take us into the top half of the table easily. I genuinely do think with Cunha and Mbeumo, a Gyökeres and a new keeper, Manchester United can be challenging for top 6, which I think is a realistic aim going into next season. I know we're Manchester United, I know we shouldn't be saying that, but to go from 15th to challenging for top 6 would be some good strides taken. Sort out the midfield in the summer and the wing-back situation, and then you're really starting to challenge up there. That's my opinion. But anyway, get your comments in. Keep or sell Zirkzee. Let's run a poll on that. Keep or sell Zirkzee. Let's run a poll in the chat. We can have that going while bringing the Gyökeres stuff. So, this is what has been coming out. So, the Muppeteers put this out on their YouTube channel yesterday. They said, during Manchester United's executive committee meeting after the Europa League final, Amorim told the board to be more ambitious and go for better players. And at the same time, they contacted Gyökeres and Mbeumo. We know that Manchester United have these weekly or bi-monthly, I don't know exactly when they take place. I mean, it says it doesn't say where it is, but we know that they have these board meetings on a regular basis. We've known about them for a long time. Everybody sits down and they have these board meetings and they discuss what needs to be happening at Manchester United. Board meetings happened when Dan Ashworth got sacked. Board meetings happened when Amorim came in. Board meetings happened to discuss what Erik ten Hag's future was. These happen regularly at Manchester United. And after you got that wrong, not win. After you lose a Europa League final, board meetings are definitely happening. I mean, a board meeting, I'm pretty sure, happened after the Brighton loss. Do you remember when Ruben Amorim, it was at the time when he smashed the TV up and he went and told Sir Jim Ratcliffe that he needs transfers? Board meetings happen in Manchester United regularly. And one thing you can say is, despite it's been a very rocky year for Ineos coming into Manchester United, a very rocky year, and rightly so, they have had a lot of criticism off you guys, off me. There's a lot of things I think they could have done differently and could have done better. And there's a lot of areas of my football club that I don't recognise because of changes they've made that I don't quite agree with. However, what you can say with them coming in is that there is absolutely now a better communication from the footballing side of things to the manager, from the board to the hierarchy, to the recruitment team, to the manager. There is absolutely a better line of communication, and we are doing things in a better way. They didn't even have everybody in place last summer, and I thought our transfer window was decent. This summer, we've gone into it, apparently with no money. We've already signed Cunha. We are very confident in getting Mbeumo, and Outgoings, apparently Manchester United are pretty confident it's sorting these out. Obviously, we've got to wait for it to all happen. You can't speak too soon, but transfer windows have started to improve. Absolutely, they have. And there is a better line of communication between Amorim and between the recruitment team as well. Sorry, guys, I've just got a little bit of a dry throat. 1 second. There we go. So there is a better line of communication there. With this being said, Ruben Amorim is pushing very, 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 very strongly for Victor Gyökeres. And the timeline of this is interesting because when he got asked about it in the press conference, I was there actually, at the Athletic Club game in the Europa League when we were at it. When we were in Bilbao the first time, he got asked about it in his press conference. He got asked a lot about Victor Gyökeres. And we had that line, we only want players that want to play for Manchester United, not players that just want to play for Manchester United because of Champions League football. It doesn't matter whether we have Champions League football. We want players that want to play for Manchester United, not just for Champions League football. And a lot of people thought he was referencing Victor Gyökeres. In hindsight, he might have been referencing Liam Delap because we were going for Liam Delap, but Liam Delap really wanted Champions League football. They really wanted European football because, as Ben Jacobs revealed to us on the show last week, Thomas Tuchel said he's got a lot better chance of getting in the England squad if he's playing European football. So that was a big thing to Delap. At the time, everyone thought he was talking about Gyökeres, and it might still be, hints at that. Fabrizio Romano has said it'll be very difficult to go and get Gyökeres without Champions League football for Manchester United. But is that because Gyökeres is demanding Champions League football, or is that because of how much he's going to cost? Because there's a big difference between 30 million for Delap and 60 million for Gyökeres. It's double the money. You are getting an experienced striker who has been around the block, got years under his belt, and absolutely smashed it in terms of goals for the last couple of seasons. But there is a difference in cost between them two players, and that is obviously going to have an effect when you don't get Champions League football and you don't get the prize money that comes with and the sponsorship money comes with Champions League football. So that was Victor Gyökeres. Then he got asked if he'd spoke to him. He said he hadn't. And I believe Amorim when he says that. However, that was before the Europa League final. And it was always said before that Amorim's a huge fan of Gyökeres. He wants to bring him to Manchester United. But Ruben Amorim said himself he hadn't spoke to him and he doesn't want players that just want Champions League football. So everyone kind of put that to bed. There was a lot of radio silence on Gyökeres. There was kind of nothing linking him to Manchester United because Manchester United were all in for Delap. We wanted Delap. Jason Wilcox was leading it. We were confident we were going to get it done. Delap has collapsed. However, after the Europa League final, apparently Ruben Amorim in this board meeting pushed the board and said, we need to be going for better players. We need to be getting rid of players that aren't good enough. We need to take action. And he was very strong on that. And apparently he's putting a lot of pressure on the board to make these things happen. And after that board meeting, then Gyökeres and Mbeumo apparently were contacted. This makes sense to me. This really does make sense because after radio silence on Gyökeres, because it was radio silence, it was just delap, delap, delap. Suddenly, there was a little bit of reports coming out about Gyökeres again. Remember, when the news started to creep out about Gyökeres again, about Manchester United might try and revisit it, but, you know, without Champions League football, it's going to be difficult. And a little bit of news about Gyökeres started to come out. Then we spoke to Mbeumo. We sold him that project and we went and spoke to his representatives. Since then, Mbeumo was chosen Manchester United because of the project we sold him. It wasn't solely reliant on Champions League football, on European football and Mbeumo's move. It's more about the project, hence why he's chosen Manchester United. A lot of opposition rival fans can't take it. They can't get their head around the fact that Mbeumo wants to join Manchester United over their club who has European football. Manchester United is a sleeping giant. We're still absolutely huge. Once that sleeping giant is awakened, any player that's here, it'll be absolutely massive for them. If you can be part of that process, the history of Manchester United still runs very, very deep, and we still have that pull. We're slowly losing it, but we still do have that pull, and we still can attract some of the best players. We've lost it a little bit, but you still can do that. Signing Cunha and Mbeumo choosing us has shown that. So that's where we're at there. We then contacted Gyökeres, contacted Mbeumo. Mbeumo's well on the way. We've started to progress with that deal because we missed out on Delap. And don't get me wrong, Delap was still absolutely the top target and we were pushing that till the end. But there's got to be other options available. There's got to be other targets for Manchester United to go for, and you've got to listen to your manager. When your manager's telling you, I want Gyökeres, I can do this with Gyökeres, the board, you know, they've got to listen and they've got to kind of collaborate and work together. So when the Delap deal collapsed, we then kind of started to go on the Mbeumo deal, pushing really hard for that, and we're well on our way with that. Gyökeres could be next, because not only is Amorim massively pushing for it, other things are lining up as well. And them other things are Arsenal look like they're pushing forward with Sesko. If they go for Sesko, they won't go for Gyökeres. And if you're Gyökeres, right, you're starting to look at it and you think, okay, I didn't want to join Man United. They're in 15th place and it looks very bleak over there. They've just lost the Europa League final. They can't win a game. They can't score goals. I'm not sure if I want to really be part of that team. I'm going to have Garnacho playing in behind me and the current number 10s. Who else? You know, players that haven't been really doing it for Manchester United. There's not just Garnacho. There's anyone who's played in them number 10 positions haven't been good enough for Manchester United this season. Anybody. So you're looking at that and you're thinking, do I really want to go into that team? But then you think, hang on a second, right, Arsenal going for Sesko, so that dream's over, because Arsenal was his priority. We've got to acknowledge that as United fans. Just how opposition fans have to acknowledge the fact that Mbeumo's choosing us over them. Newcastle fans, Nottingham Forest fans when it came to Cunha, like other fans of different clubs have to acknowledge that even though we've not got European football, Cunha and Mbeumo coming to us, we've got to acknowledge that Arsenal was Gyökeres' first choice. Like, that has been widely reported. But if Arsenal do go for Sesko and Gyökeres has the opportunity to reunite with Amorim and move to the Premier League, because the Premier League is his dream, like he's spoken about the fact that he would love to play in the Premier League, that has been widely reported. And now you're not looking at the Manchester United side that finished 15th in the season and that squad. You're looking at playing in front of Cunha, one of the best players in the Premier League last season, and Mbeumo, one of the best players in the Premier League last season. And Man United have managed to keep hold of Bruno, and Bruno has publicly said he's turned down Saudi and he's staying at Manchester United. Manchester United wants to keep him. Amorim wants to keep him. The vote of confidence in Bruno to stay is a massive vote of confidence in Amorim. And that gives Amorim a lot of strength and a lot of power. And it makes his project that he's building seem... It just gives it better legs, really. If your captain's choosing to stay and turn down 65 million a year, no matter what the reasons are for him doing that, Bruno Fernandes did reference in that press conference that family-wise, he could have moved over there. His kids know Cancelo's kids. They're very good friends. But Manchester United wants him to stay. Amorim wants him to stay, and he wants to continue playing in Europe at the top level. That is his decision, right? if your captain's choosing to stay and be part of your team, that is a vote of confidence in the manager. And you then also have got the new additions of Cunha and Mbeumo, massively, massively better than what Manchester United have currently been playing with all season. If you're Gyökeres, you're thinking, I'm going to get service, I'm playing with better players, I'm being reunited with a manager who knows how to get the best out of me, who helped build my career out. We're a lot more of an attractive outfit then. A lot more. However, for that to happen, United have to sell. They have to sell and they have to bring money in. We cannot afford to go for Mbeumo and then go for Gyökeres straight away after that. We can't afford to do it without selling and without moving players on. And that's where the Højlund and even potentially the Zirkzee exits could come into play. So get your comments in. Let me know what you think. That was a very long-winded way of me explaining the situation. But that is where we're at. And on top of that, not only coming out the reports that Amorim was putting pressure on the board to sign better players, we've also had these reports to back it up. Laurie Whitwell, Ruben Amorim is a major admirer of Victor Gyökeres. There could be a re-evaluation now Liam Delap is off the table. Also, Nathan Salt, journalist for the Daily Mail, who is a really good journalist. I've spoken to him quite a few times in and around Carrington. He was doing a bit of a Q&A and he said around the striker situation, Amorim wants Gyökeres. Ramos has been offered. Mateta still of interest. I think Mateta is definitely of interest to the Manchester United recruitment team and the board. They've scouted him. Ramos has been offered by intermediaries. That's never really a great sign, is it, when you're being offered a player? But Gyökeres is what the manager wants. He is the striker that Amorim wants. So that is where we're at on that one. Gyökeres could well and truly be on the table for Manchester United, and I'm going to get to your super chats now and get in the comments. But last but not least, just to kind of round up this summary on the Gyökeres situation, this is from Plettigol, Sky Germany, good links to the Bundesliga. As exclusively revealed, Arsenal have entered concrete talks with RB Leipzig over Benjamin Sesko. Andrea Berta has all the information regarding the release clause, payment structures, etc. So far, Arsenal are the only club in direct contact with Leipzig. Manchester United have shown interest in the player, but have not made contact with Leipzig. We've always had interest in Sesko, we've just never fully progressed it, but there's always been interest. His agent's been at Old Trafford a lot of times. He's been on United's list, the scouting list, as many other players have been for a while, but we've never fully gone for it. We nearly went for it. You know that time he was available for 20 million before he went to Leipzig? We were very, very close to getting Sesko then. Very close. But the deal didn't quite end up happening and he ended up going to Leipzig, and then since then his money, the money to go and get that player has just been too high for Manchester United to kind of go up to. But Arsenal are well and truly underway talking to Leipzig, and apparently Sesko is Arteta's choice. That's the striker that Arteta's pushing. Berta likes Gyökeres, wants Gyökeres. So they're having that same conversation. Just how, for example, at United, you've got Jason Wilcox and you've got Omar Brada and you've got the recruitment team who will have their say on transfers, the scouting network, the recruitment team that Manchester United have. Their pick this summer was Delap. Absolutely, they were pushing for Delap. I'm assuming if you would have asked Amorim, it would have been Gyökeres. So then you kind of have a clash and you've got to kind of compromise. At Arsenal, Berta wants Gyökeres and Arteta wants Sesko. So they've kind of been in them discussions, which is why I don't think Arsenal have moved straight away in this transfer window for a striker, which we know is their top priority. But it looks like they're leaning more towards Sesko. So if Arsenal do get Sesko, where does Gyökeres go if not United? There will be other clubs interested, but United could have a really good run at that. A really good run at it, and it could all be lining up perfectly for us. But get your comments in down below. Keel Robinson says, I want to see Zirkzee play with good service. Me too, Keel. Just so you know, keep voting in the poll. I don't want Zirkzee to go anywhere, and I don't think he will go anywhere. Even if we get Gyökeres, I don't want Zirkzee to go anywhere. I think that would be a brilliant partnership. You've got two different players. You've got the bully striker in Gyökeres, a penalty box striker there, and you've got Zirkzee, the link-up style, false nine, silky with his feet. And I think playing with Cunha and Mbeumo, you'll see a completely different Zirkzee. Also, the amount of improvement we got from Zirkzee from the start of the season till the end of the season, it was like watching a different player. Not even just in terms of what he was producing on the pitch, quality-wise, but I'm talking everything. You know, his movement, his attitude, his mentality, the way he ran, his body language. There was just a complete transformation in Joshua Zirkzee, and I was really, really liking the player we saw before that hamstring injury, which I was gutted about. It was a massive blow for us when he got that hamstring injury. Then when he managed to get himself back for the final, I thought that showed massive amounts of resilience, a strong mentality, exactly the type of personality you want from a United player. Came on for about 20 minutes when he wasn't even fit, and still looked way better than what Rasmus Højlund did, and I thought this is what I've been missing all game. So I want to keep Zirkzee. Definitely not the finished article, and I don't know if you could rely on him as your sole striker for a season, but someone I want to keep at Manchester United for sure. Class of 99 says, would be silly to let Zirkzee go, gets even better with better players around him. I bet he surprises many next season and shines given the opportunity. I agree with you. It's interesting because just in reply to that super chat, you have a few people saying, yes, keep Zirkzee, yep, I really like him. And then you have Savage saying, nonsense, get a good offer, definitely sell him. So there is two sections of the fan base. I'm a massive fan of Zirkzee and I want to keep him. I know a friend of mine that would cash in on him tomorrow, thinks he's good with his feet but doesn't think he's suited to the Premier League, says he's not a Premier League player. I disagree. I think he can play in the Premier League, and I think it's only just the beginning for Zirkzee. I think it'd be a shame to let him go, especially for the money we paid for him. But this is what you get, right? This is what you get with these PSR and FFP rules that really, really grinds my gears. And Ben Jacobs even spoke about it on the show when we had him on last week for an interview. It was a fantastic interview that. We've got him coming on again this week, I think, later on this week, so stay tuned for that. We spoke about this. To sell Rasmus Højlund this summer, and for it to be worthwhile for Manchester United to not lose money, to sell Rasmus Højlund, we would have to sell him for around 38 million. I worked it out, by the way, the other day off the show when I couldn't remember what fee it would be. It'd be around 38 million we'd have to sell Rasmus Højlund for, just to break even, because we paid 72 million for him. Is anybody paying that? Is anyone paying 40 million for Rasmus Højlund? I'm not sure. However, Joshua Zirkzee, because we only brought him in for around 35 million, FFP-wise, he's the much easier sell for Manchester United. You know, he could sell, we could even make a little bit of money on him. However, when I look at it with Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee, I think Joshua Zirkzee is better in near enough every single department, apart from physicality in terms of the running and the sprinting and the pace. But physicality in terms of holding the ball up, bullying defenders, better. Better with his feet, everything. Maybe pure ball striking ability, Rasmus is probably better, but as an all-round striker, Zirkzee for me is way ahead and gives way more to this team than what Højlund does. And if you ask me, would you rather keep Højlund or Zirkzee? I'd rather keep Zirkzee every day of the week. But he's a much easier sell for Manchester United if they need to make room for strikers this summer. And I think that's sadder. You're at that point with FFP and PSR where United could be backed into a corner where they need to sell a striker, and it'd be way easy for them and more beneficial for them to sell Zirkzee, even though he's been the better performer this season and, in my opinion, has more to give next season. So yeah, that's the FFP and PSR side of it there. We have Trina saying Zirkzee is a baller and will be great with time, but if we can sell him and buy a Premier League player who's proven, then it might make sense to part with him. I like the option of having Zirkzee though, just like the Jacob Fatu says underneath there. I like the option of having that style of player. We don't have anybody like him really in the squad. Slazy says Zirkzee could be our Firmino, only stronger. PZeb below says, I hope the project we sold wasn't on 250 grand a week. Yeah, I'm going to get into their Mbeumo wage rumours soon, because I'm going to kind of calm the storm a little bit on that. I don't think Mbeumo is offering. I don't think Mbeumo is demanding 250 grand a week, and I don't think United is offering that either. God, could you imagine if Mbeumo was offering it? Sergin would snap his hand off. You're offering us 250 grand a week? Get here to Manchester United right now. But no, I don't think we're offering Mbeumo 250 grand a week, and I don't think he's demanding it either. Of course, we want a pay increase, but 250 grand a week I don't think is happening, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Simply Red says, only concern with Zirkzee is Ruben not giving him a real chance next season. We've seen all the signs, can be a lush player and even better with quality players. McClearly Francis says, would you take Nelson Semedo on a free as right wing back? Probably not. Maybe for a year or so. He's not in the age catalogue though that Ineos suit. He's over 30, isn't he? Nelson Semedo. Let me have a look. He's 31. Nah, I'd probably move on to. He's a good player, Nelson Semedo, but I'd probably move on to the future of Manchester United rather than bringing in a 31-year-old. When I say I want experienced players, that 26, 27, 28 mark is where I'm usually looking for. Rob Always United says, I think most good strikers would thrive with Mbeumo and Cunha servicing them. They score goals and provide a lot of assists. Calvin98 says, with Cunha done, Mbeumo likely and Gyökeres possible, what do you think would be a good season for us if we were to sign just those three? Just those three, what did Manchester United get last season? But you've also got to take into consideration as well, right? Arsenal have missed having a proper striker. If they've signed Sesko, as much as I don't think Sesko maybe is the creme de la creme of what they could have got, I do think he's an excellent ball striker and will absolutely improve Arsenal's team. And Arsenal do create a lot of opportunities, so any striker going into that team, you know, he's going to get a lot of chances, and Sesko can put them away. You've seen that. So Arsenal are going to be stronger. Liverpool have already signed Frimpong. They're going for Wirtz. They're getting Gyökeres. They've already just won the league. Like, they're going to be a lot stronger. City, another one. We've just had the Here We Go and Reinders. They're getting Cherky. They're getting Eight Nori. They're absolutely going to be stronger going into next season as well. So, as much as United are going to be stronger, other teams are going to be stronger too. United finished 15th on 42 points. I think if we only got Mbeumo, Cunha and Gyökeres, I think you're looking at top eight, trying to get into that top eight, and I think we could do that, especially with one game a week in the Premier League. I think top eight would be where we'd kind of be looking for with them additions. If you get a goalkeeper as well, which is what I'd be advocating for, I think you're looking at challenging for top six. It could even be a little bit higher than top eight, depending on how other teams do. It's all very, very dependent. But just on an average basis, if we got Gyökeres, Mbeumo and Cunha, I think you're looking at around top eight benchmark. But as happy as I would be with them three, I do think United also have to either go for a keeper or a midfielder to add to that. You know, you need to strengthen the spine just a little bit more there this summer. Attack is obviously, you know, the main point of call because we were so lacking in it last season, but there is other positions in that United team that need addressing. All of them can't be done in this window, and I've come to accept that. We are not going to be able to do everything this window, right? I know there's some people that think wing-backs are the priority. There's some people that think midfield is a priority. There's some people, I mean, I'd question what was wrong with you if you didn't think the attack was a priority. Of course that's a priority. And, you know, there's some people even saying we need to go and get another centre-back. And we probably would need to get another left-sided centre-back as a backup option and to give us some depth, considering Amorim plays three at the back. But that's right on the back burner now for me. We've got to prioritise. We can't do everything, as well as all the outgoings that we have to go and sort out. You can't do everything. Attack, goalkeeper, this summer. Next year, we focus on the midfield and the wing-backs, and we are going to be a work in progress. That's where I've kind of come to the conclusion of. Although, missing out on a midfielder this summer, I am going to be honest, would be a big blow. We need a midfielder. Like, it's obvious we need a midfielder. And going into the season, if we don't get a midfielder, I think Amorim will know we need a midfielder, and so will the board. It's just the fact we cannot do everything all in one window to the highest quality when you're dealing with bad financial decisions of the last decade going against you in terms of PSR, no Champions League football, a loss of money. It's going to be tough. It is really going to be tough. Jana's Prime 16 says, hi from Singapore, Beth. Cunha and Mbeumo and Gyökeres would be lethal. We need also to strengthen the centre mid, right wing back and get a new keeper. Ahmad's going to be flying on that right wing back spot next season. Don't worry about that. Bjorn says, if we want to be competing with teams like City, Arsenal, Liverpool, we need Gyökeres and Mbeumo. Otherwise, we are miles off them. Maliel Riviero says, Zirkzee definitely can't be the only striker. Eat Me says, hate to do this, but whatever we do, Anana cannot stay as the first choice keeper. Too many points dropped from goalkeeper mistakes. Mib says, perfect opportunity for the right players to join United. Imagine yourself being part of the team that pulls United out of the mud. Road to be a legend. SK says, not everyone is keen on Gyökeres, but he suits us and Amorim. He's also realistically in our budget. Go all in before Arsenal decide to get it done. I completely agree with that point. We need to be bullish with this. We need to go for it. And no, there is some question marks over Gyökeres. I've seen some people worried that he's coming from the Portuguese league. When we did this with Ten Hag and going back to Ajax, the Dutch league, it didn't correspond to the Prem and we got our fingers burnt a little bit. I'm concerned that people think, will he be able to do it in the Prem? I know that people are a little bit worried about whether his goals will translate into Premier League football. However, I agree with that comment. He suits us. Amorim knows him. He knows how to use him. I do kind of trust Amorim in that sense. And he's in our budget. Like 60 million in our budget. I mean, it's probably a little bit high for us, but 60 million for a striker that scored that many goals in Europe, it's a really good deal. Usually, if Sporting didn't have that gentleman's agreement, they'd be asking for at least 80 for a player that's putting up them sort of numbers. But thank you everyone for getting your super chats in. I will revisit them in a second, but I want to bring in this Zirkzee news. While I bring in this Zirkzee news, if I can just find out what the poll is on, that would be great. So, 74% of you want to keep Zirkzee. I'm very happy about that because I think he proved himself last season. Still got levels to go up. Still not the finished article, but I am with the 74% of the community in the chat that have said you want to keep him. But this is the news, and this is coming out from Ty Marshall at the MEN. Inter Milan are considering making a move for Rasmus Højlund this summer. With Ruben Amorim keen to add attacking reinforcements this summer, Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee could depart to make room in the squad and free up vital funds. So as I said before, as much as we're getting excited about the potential of getting Gyökeres now and Seska going to Arsenal, for Gyökeres to come to Manchester United, even if he says yes and agrees to personal terms, we have to sell. We have to sell players. After we've signed Mbeumo, we've got to sell players. That's the position Manchester United are in financially, right? And I know a lot of people are worried about this. We've got updates on Sancho and Rashford to bring you as well. This is where Højlund and Zirkzee have come into consideration of being sold for Manchester United. In my ideal world, Inter Milan bail us out and give us 40 million for Højlund. I'm even laughing out loud saying that. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think a club's going to pay 40 million for him, which is wild considering 2 years ago we paid 72. The United effect, this is what happens. However, I spoke about it on previous shows, so I won't go into detail about it. I actually do think if Inter Milan took a risk and paid 40 for Rasmus, it could massively pay off for them. They have money from getting into the Champions League final. He's proven to have done it in Italy before. He has big fans in Italy. He's still a young striker. He's gained a lot of valuable experience in the Premier League. Has got something there that in a proper, well-structured team with a good coach can be worked on. Suits a slower-paced league. His best football for United has come in the Europa League and in the Champions League. I think it makes sense for Inter Milan to take that risk. And United apparently, obviously United are open to it. Obviously. I mean, after the season he had last season, of course they're going to be open to it when they were trying to get a striker in and we need money. I have a feeling they're going to offer us a loan with an option to buy, which is doesn't really do much for us financially. maybe we could get 30 million plus 10 million add-ons and we might be able to do something with that. I don't know, but it's going to be hard to move on when just to balance the books you need around 38 million for Højlund. But then that's where I spoke about before, Zirkzee departing could come into play, although the majority of us want to keep him, and I think Ruben Amorim would want to keep him as well. We might be in a situation where we can't shift Højlund because of the amount we need to get to break even on him and for the books to be even. Amorim's there like, guys, I need to sign a striker. I want to sign Gyökeres. What's the hold up? And United are like, well, we can't sell Højlund. He's like, Amorim, we need to sell one of the strikers. And Amorim's like, yeah, okay, you can sell Højlund. Inter's interested. And like, we can't sell him for 20 million, Amorim. We've got to sell him for at least 40 to break even on the books. Like, there's nothing we can do. We can't move him on for that amount of money. So, but however, Zirkzee, we only paid 35 million for him last summer. You know, there's teams interested in him. We can get a bit of money for Zirkzee, and that's a way we could maybe do it. And Amorim might be like, well, I don't want to sell Zirkzee. I'd rather sell Højlund, to be honest with you. But if we have to sell Zirkzee to bring in Gyökeres, that could be a route the United go down. However, I don't think we will. The reason I don't think we will is I think Zirkzee, ever since he was close to leaving in the January window, when he had, you know, the Newcastle game when he got brought off early, and it was a horrible day that for him, and he's bounced back stronger. Apparently Bruno Fernandes had a big influence on that, by the way. Remember, Bruno Fernandes couldn't play in that Newcastle game. I think he was suspended because of yellow cards. Apparently, when Zirkzee went down the tunnel, Bruno Fernandes got out of his seat, went over and gave Zirkzee a massive pep talk, told him to go back out, and has massively helped him ever since. That's the captain that a lot of people have wanted to get rid of and don't think it's going to take effect. It boggles me that people are genuinely like absolutely like gutted that Bruno is staying. But anyway, that's a different story. I can understand maybe wanting to take the money for him. I get that. Like, I can understand different points of views in that sense. But actually being like fuming that a captain that has given so much to this club is staying, I can't understand it. But everyone has got different opinions. But anyway, that's a tangent. Zirkzee since then has fallen in love with the club. His mentality's completely shifted. He's given his all to the club. He's grown in confidence. He's in games. He's affecting games so much more. And you can really kind of see that there is a player in there. And he's turned into a fan's favourite a little bit, Zirkzee. Like, he actually has turned into a fan's favourite, and he's got his song now, and apparently he's fallen in love with Manchester United. I just can't see him being forced out. When the news came out yesterday that Bruno was staying, Zirkzee put on an Instagram post, like, celebrating, saying mood at Bruno Fernandes. Like, he loves the club. He's buzzing that Bruno's staying. If you didn't see yourself as part of the future, then why would you be doing that? And, of course, you've got to get the player's approval if you're going to sell him. So I think it's going to be difficult to... I don't think it'll be difficult to sell Zirkzee. I think if he wanted to go, I think there would be clubs there willing to pay. And I think there's money there that Manchester United would be satisfied with. But I don't think Amorim's going to push it, and I don't think Zirkzee's going to push it either. I think he's going to stay. I really do want him to stay, and I think he will. But it is an option, and I won't be surprised if it comes up again this summer. I wanted to bring you the news there, and it is coming out from the MEN. Tinashe says, Beth, stop saying Serie A is a slower league. Stop it. Right. Is that Ricky in disguise? Is that Ricky in disguise? Because... One second. Let me just get this up. I respect Serie A so much. I think it's got great technical aspects to it. I think the defensive game is super strong. It's like chess. I respect it. And I have said on the shows multiple times, I actually want to start watching more of the Serie A. The title race at the end of last season was fantastic. Serie A teams usually do really well in the Champions League. Look at Inter again, getting to the final. I know they got absolutely battered, but they did. But it is a slower paced league. Look at the rest. Right. I get it's all about the eye test, but let me just read this to you. Serie A is generally considered a slower league than the Premier League, but that doesn't mean it's lower in quality. Exactly what I'm trying to say. It's just a different style. Here's a breakdown and why. Premier League is known for its high tempo, physicality and fast transitions. Teams often press aggressively and matches are played at a relentless pace. Serie A is more tactically disciplined and methodical. Teams often sit deeper, build play slower and prioritise positional structure over end-to-end chaos. Serie A has a strong focus on defensive organisation, shape and tactical nuance. Managers are often praised for their chess-like approach to games, exactly what I just said. The Premier League emphasises athleticism and quick attacking phases. Tactical systems are important, but speed, intensity can override a deep structure at times. And then it just goes on and on about transitions, age profiles, etc, etc. Right. Yes, it is ChatGPT. What are you going to do about it? I love ChatGPT and I will not have any slander on ChatGPT in the chat. So anyway, just to come back to that point, I always get criticised for saying that Serie A is a slower league. Do people not understand? Slower is not, it's not a synonym for worse. It's not a synonym for lower quality. It doesn't mean that. Slower doesn't mean it's a worse league. It's a different league. It's still a quality league. I'm not saying it's a worse league. I just think it's a slower paced. But, the tactical discipline behind it and the other elements to it make it a quality league. Of course it does. So, anyway, I'm not going on a massive tangent at that. But, yeah. That's why this is why certain players play better in different leagues. La Liga is a slower paced league to the Premier League. But tactically, it's fantastic. And there's different styles over there. It's why Anthony has thrived over there, because it's a slower paced league. There's a reason why Højlund does better in the Champions League and the Europa League than he does in the Premier League. Some players are suited to different aspects. And anyway, I'm not intensity. Intensity is the word, Salim has said in the chat. Thank you very much. We've got Glenn C says, I would have thought it would be the sale of Garnacho that funds the striker. Well, this is the thing. United, like I said, to get Gyökeres in, will need to shift players and make money. A lot of people are worried about how we're going to do that. Garnacho, you've just brought up there, Glenn C, is a big one. Matt as well, Garner sale pays for Gyökeres easily. Garnacho is going to be sold and that money is going to be crucial for us in FFP. We're going to be able to sell him pretty easily. His wages are low. There's a lot of interest in him. He is a young player that has had some moments that have been fantastic for United and there's potential there. He will be getting sold and I think we'll get a decent fee for him. I think for Garnacho we'll probably get around 50 million. Don't think we'll get any more than that, but I think around 50 million, which is solid. Other players we can get rid of, Anthony, he's another one. And with Anthony, you might not be thinking you can get a massive transfer fee. You could probably get around 35 million for Anthony after what he's done at Betis. But the key thing about Anthony is wages going off the books. He's on over 200 grand a week, he's on around 200 grand a week, Anthony. It's madness. So wage off the books there with Anthony. Sancho is another one, and there's been links to Sancho and Saudi. Apparently Saudi are interested in bringing Jadon Sancho. I didn't think this was going to happen because of Sancho's age, but if the rumours are true that they couldn't agree a payment structure with Chelsea for his wages because he wanted a higher wage, then I can see him maybe taking a Saudi move because no one else is going to pay him that money. No other club is going to pay him 300 grand a week apart from Saudi. Unless he can somehow back United into a corner to cover his wages in a sale to a different club in Europe. I'm not sure. But Sancho is another one. If we can get 350 grand a week off the wage bill, absolutely fantastic. Obviously, some of these wages have had a bit of a cut because we're not in the Champions League, but him off the wage bill and getting some sort of fee in for him, that'll be great for Manchester United. And he's actually been at Manchester United for quite a number of years now, so on the books, it'll look relatively good. And he's another one where the wage is massive. Absolutely massive. Rashford. Pure profit and getting his wage off the books. Another high earner. 300 plus grand a week Rashford's on. If we can get him off the books, that makes us money and that would be great for us. Also, Casemiro. There's rumours that Manchester United might push for a Casemiro sale. If we did, we'd have to buy a midfielder. I can see Casemiro staying. I don't see how he turns his back on the last year of his contract on 300 grand a week. I just don't see it happening. And I don't see a club coming in and paying a fee for him and it being worthwhile enough for Manchester United to move Casemiro on and also invest into another midfielder, because we'd have to buy another midfielder. I think Casemiro will stay at United for the next year, and like I said, I think next year is our year where we go in for a believer. Next year is where we do our Caicedo and Declan Rice business. Casemiro stays for another year on his contract. He leaves next summer. Happy days, thank you very much for your service. Unk, have you got another year left in you? One game a week in the Premier League, I think he can get up for it, and I think we keep Casemiro. But if he did go, that's again another high wage off the books. You've also got other little bits and bobs coming in from places. The Jadon Sancho penalty fee, 5 million there. The Alvaro Fernandez, probably going to make some money off him. What's going to happen with Malacia? Everyone's forgot about Malacia, but could we get some money back for him? We didn't pay much for him in the first place when we originally bought him from... Where did we originally buy him from? Feyenoord. So there is little bits and bobs you can do as well, and Victor Lindelof and Eriksen's wages have already been freed up too. So United can make some money this summer. But all of that has to be done before we can go for a Gyökeres. But like everyone's saying in the chat, if you get a decent amount of money in for Garnacho, we can get in for Gyökeres. But it's just when we sell Garnacho, how quickly we sell Garnacho. He's currently on holiday, you know, and you've got to try and gather interest from clubs. You've got to start negotiations. I think Garnacho is going to be a July one. I don't see Garnacho going in June. I think Garnacho might be one that we complete in July. And after we've signed Mbeumo, if we sign Mbeumo, it's still not happened, but I think we will. United are pretty confident on it. After we've signed Mbeumo, we cannot move for anybody else until we guarantee we can sell Garnacho. So I think then you're relying on Gyökeres waiting well into July, which is risky, but it could work out if Arsenal go for Sesko. Because you can start the talks with Gyökeres. You can say, look, we want you. These are the personal terms. We just got to sell some players first, and then we can sign you. Janice Prime 60, because again, it's not about negotiating with Sporting, because there is a gentleman's agreement. It's similar to Cunha. You go in, you pay the release cost for Cunha, 62.5 million. There's a gentleman's agreement with Sporting, about 60 million euros. You go in there, you pay it, and it's just about personal terms with Gyökeres then. Janice Prime 16 says, if we get all the ins and outs, reset begins. Also, Mateta is one to absolutely watch. Even if we went for Mateta, I think Palace will demand 40 million for him. I know he's only got a year left on his deal, but I think with Europa League football, they'll demand 40 million. Still a pretty hefty fee that we'll have to wait for outgoings for. The thing is for me, is if you're going to go for Mateta for 40 mil, right, you might as well just go for Gyökeres, because you're going to have to sell Garnacho to do either of them anyway. Garnacho covers Gyökeres and would cover Mateta. I'd be happy with Mateta, but Gyökeres is the manager's pick. It's a little bit extra, but you might as well do it, in my opinion. You might as well just go and pay the extra money. Pengas92 says, Beth, has anyone done a welfare check on Ricky since Bruno decided to stay? Mark says he hasn't responded to anyone in the group chat. I have spoke to Ricky. He's all right. He's gutted, but he's all right. He was really gutted. But he's okay. Tom Terry says, hi, Beth. Number 7 deserves a fresh start next season. Is Mason Mount been banned in the chat or something? Yeah, Mason Mount next season. I think if he can stay fit, you'll see a completely different Mason Mount. He was really starting to get into it at the end of last season. People forget, when you have suffered with injuries that have kept you out of football for 2.5 years, you're going to need to get up to match speed and match rhythm. He looked really good in the Aston Villa game, wasn't good in the final. I was really let down by him in the final. Previous game before that, he looked good. If he can get some minutes under his belt and stay consistently fit, have a proper pre-season, there's a real opportunity for Mason Mount next year. Where he gets in, I'm not sure, with Mbeumo and Cunha as well. But it's all about having squad depth and having quality players. You want to be able to bring players off the bench that are going to make your team better, or at least maintain the standard, rather than thinking, oh God, we've got nothing on the bench to use. It's a drop-off. You want to have, I would rather United have too many quality attacking players than not enough, because we have had not enough for a long time. You have struggled. It was basically Ahmad and Bruno, and that was it really. Garnacho would have his moments, but it was usually against, the likes of the Leicesters and stuff like that, or if it was in a final. And, we didn't even play the Europa League final, but anyway, let's not get into that. Glenn C says, I would have thought it would be the sale of Garnacho, done that one. Jake Fazza says, look at Zirkzee's injury record, hamstring, guys, 23. It's something to be concerned about, but I don't think it's something to worry about yet with Zirkzee and his hamstrings. Hamstrings can be a nightmare if they keep going. It's something to be concerned about, we need to look after him, but I wouldn't be saying it's a reason we need to sell him. Vatsal Chopra says, Gyökeres can be our Haaland, we definitely need him. Jason Hanna says, Beth, we definitely need a midfielder. Ugarte and Bruno in midfield hurts my eyes. Honestly, I was speaking to my brother about this yesterday. As much as I've said midfield can wait till next year, I don't think we can do an Ugarte-Bruno pivot next year. Like, it just can't happen. That's where Casemiro comes into play. Thank you everyone for your super chats coming in. Really do appreciate them. Smash a like on the video if you're not already. Last little bit to finish off the show, and this is on Marcus Rashford. And it came in that Marcus Rashford wants to play for Barcelona and he's willing to take a pay cut and wait until the end of the transfer window to get a deal done. And that has come from Luis F. Rojo. And I can understand why Rashford would do this. Rashford's not there thinking, I need to leave Manchester United so quick so they can get the money from me for FFP and they can rebuild their squad this summer for a team that I'm not even going to be part of next year. That's not what Rashford is thinking. Rashford is thinking, I want to go Barcelona. I will do anything I can to make that happen because it's the best move that I possibly can. I want to be with Hansi Flick, who is doing fantastic work in Barcelona. I want to be playing with the likes of Yamal, Rafinha. I want to be part of that team. And Barca, if they can't afford to go out and get me straight away, I will wait and I will wait and I will wait. That's the worry with the Rashford deal, though, for Manchester United. The worry is we need that money for FFP and PSR. It's pure profit. We might have to wait until right at the end of the window to get any sort of money for it. United are going to have to play hardball. They're going to have to really start to negotiate on this deal and do the best they possibly can with it. We've said incomings at Manchester United, it's looking pretty promising. Outgoings is where we're really going to judge Ineos and this recruitment team this summer because Rashford's going to be a difficult one. There was rumours that Luis Diaz is Barcelona's priority. I would struggle to believe they are going to get Rashford as well as Diaz. They play the same position, left wing. If they've chosen Diaz, I struggle to see where they go for Rashford, especially considering the finances at Barcelona, have been a little bit tricky for a while now. They got far in the Champions League, that'll help them. Unless they're thinking of playing Rashford, up front, maybe. Because he has done that for Villa, but I just don't see it. I think it's going to be a long old saga with Rashford this summer, and that could be a little bit detrimental to our incomings because we'll rely on that Rashford money. Ineos, prove me wrong and get something going. But like I said, a lot of people would be like, I wish Rashford would just go. Rashford's going to look out for himself and do the best for his future, and rightly so. I would want to go to Barcelona if I was him as well. So it's whether Ineos can negotiate with Barcelona or we can negotiate some sort of deal earlier rather than later. But I think Barcelona might leave it till the last moments of the transfer window because they know United will get more and more desperate. Lastly, I did say I'd speak about this, so I'll speak about it very, very quickly. Mbeumo wage demands. It's been reported from the Times that Mbeumo's demanding 250 grand a week to play at United. All I will say on this is that it was first reported by Martin Hardy. I don't know much about Martin Hardy. What I do know through a little bit of research is that he mainly reports on Newcastle. He's the Northern Sports correspondent for the Times and the Sunday Times. He mainly reports on Newcastle. I would not be surprised one bit if Newcastle have leaked this out there because they are trying to save face and trying to save embarrassment of losing out to Cunha and now Mbeumo to United because they thought they'd be able to get Cunha and Mbeumo because they've got Champions League football. But United have beat them to both. because it's Manchester United. So I won't be surprised if that's been leaked out and is a fake story. I think it might be a fake story, to be honest with you. I just don't see how Mbeumo's demanding 250 grand a week. I think he'll want about 180. Yeah, and I think he deserves that. 180 to 200, same as Cunha. 250, I don't think will be happening. I think he was looking in the region to 150, 180. The last report I heard about what Manchester United was going to offer Mbeumo. But I think Newcastle will be so gutted, fuming, and a little bit embarrassed that they've missed out on both of these deals to 15th place Manchester United after what they went through to get Champions League football, that, you know, you're bound to be frustrated with it. And I think they might have just slipped that out there to the Northern Sports correspondent because they want to make this deal look worse for United, but also they want to make it look, they want to come up with a reason why they've missed out on it to their fans, to football fans, other than it's just simply the fact Mbeumo's chosen United. They want to make it look like they've lost out on this because they're not paying 250 grand a week. Wherein I think Mbeumo's looked at all the projects and thought, if I can be one of the players that bring Man United back, then that's the project I want to be a part of. As a United fan, I'm obviously going to think that, red tinted glasses, but that's where I'm at. Anyway, guys, smash a like on the video. Thank you so much for all of your super chats this morning. Mark's still living it up in New York City. I'm so jealous. I absolutely love New York. But I'm sure he'll pop on this afternoon with a show at some point. You know what he's like. He can't stay away from me for too long. Class of 99 says we should look to offload Mount ASAP. And Janus Prime says if we get all the ins and outs, the reset begins. I've done that one. Thank you very much. All about opinion. All about opinion. One sec. Tenzi says, Sky Sports now, United make initial contact for Mbeumo. I've not seen anything come out on that. That's already come out. That's already come out ages ago. Don't try and get me. Lastly, with the super chat, Pogba 6. How will we not all over Theo Hernandez? I'll never understand the same price we paid for Dorgu. Pogba, we said that yesterday. How we've not even looked at Theo Hernandez is beyond me. But anyway, have a lovely... Is it Wednesday or Tuesday today? Have a lovely Wednesday, everybody. Enjoy your day. We'll be back. Any breaking news, fingers crossed for some updates on Mbeumo soon. We will bring it to you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.